Hello and welcome to your real estate journey, expert tips for buyers and sellers. I am Dolly Lopez, your realtor broker in the state of Florida and Kentucky. Today I am joined by Myrna. Myrna, how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing well. Good morning.
I am so excited to have you on board. And we have done a couple of podcasts before, so make sure you look into those if you wanted to learn about probate and estate planning. Myrna is an attorney that takes care of all aspects of estate planning, and today she's going to be teaching us about trust. There's a lot of misconception about trust. There is very little knowledge about trust, so we kind of thought it would be a good idea to bring a little light into this topic. So, Myrna, what is a trust? Let's start with that.
A trust is a way to manage money, property, or assets for someone else's benefit.
Okay, and how many type of trust are there? Is it just one type of trust, or
There
there's
are there are many different types of trusts that have different focuses and priorities, but they all have pretty much the same concept of there's a person who makes the trust, there's a person who gets to be a beneficiary of the trust, and sometimes it's yourself and sometimes it's not. And then there's a person who manages the trust who's called the trustee.
and what would be the most common trust in your opinion?
The most common trust that we see in our office is the revocable living trust that we use in estate planning.
And what is that? What does he do? Why is it even important to have a trust? Let's start with that. There's so many questions that I got. So we got some time to discuss.
Yeah, I love talking about trust, so feel free to ask me anything. When it comes to trust, someone may feel that it's very important to set up a trust when they are thinking about their beneficiaries, and if they're worried about how the beneficiaries will be able to manage what they inherit. Sometimes beneficiaries are immature or they have special needs, or the person who's making the trust is just really worried that the beneficiary not inherit everything all at once because it might hurt them.
Gotcha. And I can see that. I have 5 kids myself, and they're minors, and I'm like, okay, what about if I passed away? And I want to make sure that they have, what they need,
Hmm.
not to be wasted if they start using it all. So I
Hmm.
can see that. Now, when would you why would you recommend someone to have a trust? What age would you recommend someone to have a trust? Why is it important to have a trust?
There are, I could talk about this all day. So, in terms of the main factors that we point to when someone should consider a trust is if they own more than one piece of real estate. Usually, after someone passes away, there's an interest in selling the real estate quickly. And when you hold real estate in a trust, it will avoid the court process that is called probate. So that is a good thing for a lot of families to want to avoid. Also, if you own real estate out of state in different states, if you don't transfer the property to a trust or an LLC or another way of avoiding probate, you're going to have a probate case in every state where the real estate is located. So a trust can be very helpful for people who own real estate in different places. Another reason why someone may want to consider a trust is if their beneficiaries have special needs where they're getting certain government benefits. If they inherit through a way that's not through the trust that has special terms in it, they could lose their benefits from the government. So when you have a trust that has the right language in it, you can protect your beneficiaries' benefits. Another reason why a trust may be appealing for families is if they want to protect their privacy. And that's because if you use a will to do the heavy lifting in providing someone their inheritance, the will is part of the court process that becomes public in the court records. And a trust isn't like that. If you set up a revocable trust, that trust doesn't get filed in the public records.
Oh, okay. Now you barely mentioned and something that whenever you mention about the properties and whenever people are owning real estate. So I have a few throughout the years, a few people have called and said, should I put my property into a trust? And what I'm guessing it's more for them to be safe from creditors or from people trying to get into their assets. What would you say to these people? Like, what would you recommend to actually have the real estate be transferred into a trust? I think you're muted.
I don't know what happened. All right.
Okay. Oh,
So the circumstances under which we would recommend that people transfer a property to a trust, I think we would need to have a really good conversation to learn more about the person to see if a trust would be good for them, and to find out what they're most worried about. A lot of times, if people are real estate investors, it's a really good idea to do trust planning so that they can avoid probate for their beneficiaries and things like that. But if they're especially concerned about asset protection, they may want to consider using a business entity such as an LLC, and there's other entities as well that they can use in combination with a trust. And another thing to consider is the different types of trusts that are out there and what the focuses are. Because if someone is very concerned about asset protection, there are jurisdictions in the US that are very friendly for what we call domestic asset protection trusts, where people can transfer things to the trust and receive creditor protection. But a lot of times, with the terms of those trusts, you can't be your own trustee. So you're giving up control, and that can make people nervous.
I can see that. It would make me nervous, given
Mhm.
some control over my assets. What can you
Mhm.
tell me about land trust?
Yes, so we're very lucky in the state of Florida. We have a statute that allows us to set up land trusts. Now, at my office, we don't set up land trusts. It's not because we don't like them. It's because land trusts really lend themselves for real estate investors. And one of the primary functions of the land trust in Florida is it avoids probate after the owner passes away, and it also provides a high level of privacy if you set up the land trust right. And that's because the trustee is the party that shows up in the land records, not you as the individual owner. And so if someone is trying to sue you, a lot of times they're going to check in the land records to see what do you own, because otherwise they may not feel that it's worth trying to sue you. And if they can't find you, then it's hard for them to sue you.
And that makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Now,
Mhm.
Marina, what is the cost associated with doing a trust?
Well, there are costs associated with retitling assets. So if you're retitling real estate, there will be doc stamps and things like that. There also is a cost for setting it up with the attorney's office, the legal fees. And so costs can really range depending on the level of urgency. How soon do you need to get your help? Also, what are the terms that need to be included based on your specific goals and the recommendations that were shared with you, and also on the focus of the trust. Some trusts have more of an asset protection during your lifetime. Other trusts are very focused on saving federal estate taxes and things like that. But generally, trusts can cost anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 and up, just depending on the features and what's needed.
And the complexity of them.
Yes, yes.
So, what would you say to those people? I'm gonna try to do the trust myself. I'm gonna Google it online, and I'm gonna try to make it work. And I have a trust. They say this is a trust, and they can do a trust for me for $200, $500. I don't know, whatever the number is, rather than to go to an attorney. why would you suggest to go to an attorney or doing those types of, you know, legal process online would be best? Why would one over the other?
I think that when you are looking to do a trust and you decide that you're going to do it on your own online through a service, you you have to be very careful because you may not really understand how your trust works or what you need to do. And a lot of times when people are saving money, they or trying to save money doing that on their own, it ends up costing them a lot more later, or their family, because there's mistakes that are made or missed opportunities in planning. And so I certainly recommend that people not use the do-it-yourself services, or and really work with an attorney that has experience in it, that can really help them and show them, and so that they can really have that peace of mind that, in my opinion, is worth so much more than saving some money just online.
I completely agree with you. I think, and it's just like real estate. You can sell your house for sale by owner, or you can
Mhm.
buy your house yourself, but it's a big investment, at least on the real estate side. It's a big investment.
Mhm.
And it's best to do it with a professional that can actually help, that can actually guide you and make sure it's done right. Because at the end of the day, it could cost you a lot of money. And I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, like Myrna said, that he did. So, guys, thank you so much, Myrna. Thank you for sharing your time today with us, teaching us about trust. And you cannot miss our next episodes. It's going to be we're trying to do this at least once a month to give you some knowledge about estate planning and what's important. Once again, there's very little information out there that is correct. So if you have any questions you want us to cover it, make sure you comment below. We'll definitely do our best to answer all the questions you have, and more. It will come from a professional that does this all the time. Thank you, Myrna. Thank you for your time. Guys, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok channels, so you won't miss any of our episodes. Please share this information with your friends and colleagues. They might also benefit from it. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.